Hey, Stan Shields here. This is another edition of Speaker Spotlight. I am with networklasvegas.com. So we are a networking group here in Las Vegas, Nevada. You can visit us at networklasvegas.com. We meet on the first and third Wednesday of each month, and we have usually one or two speakers at each of the meetings. So today's meeting, we're going to interview our speakers. That's kind of a weird way to say that, simply because one of those speakers is me. So I'll share with you a little bit about what I'm going to share in the meeting later on today. But then we're also going to meet one of the other speakers, and I'm going to introduce him in just a minute. Now, I said that we meet first and third Wednesday of each month. The first Wednesday of the month is also a hybrid meeting, so that you can either attend it online or you can attend it in person. You would find the schedule for those on networklasvegas.com, and you can register there as well, which means also that if it's in person, you'll get the address for where the meeting's going to be held. You'll have all that info if you wanted to attend the meeting in person. We also do a once a month networking social event that's in the evenings. And so the next one will be on June 28th, Tuesday, the 28th, from 5 to 7 p.m. It will be at PT's Gold on Sunset Boulevard. And I don't have that address right in front of me, but it is on PT's Gold, Sunset Boulevard. And it is actually 1661 East Sunset Road. So we'll have that meeting as another opportunity for you to meet with other small business owners and talk business, have a beverage, have a little bit of food, just kind of hang out with us, all of those kinds of things. So if you are watching this on the replay, then we welcome you as a replay viewer, but we are broadcasting live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So whichever of those platforms is your favorite, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, whatever the case may be, so that you will then be notified for the next meetings that we're going to have. So with that, let's introduce our speaker today. So Jim Eagan is with us. And Jim, I'm going to have you take about 30 seconds or so, whatever, and tell everybody kind of like your elevator pitch, right? Just tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what your business is, and then we're going to dive into some specific questions about your business.
Sure. My name is Jim Eagan. I'm the broker for Limestone Investments, and we're a very small brokerage that focuses on investment properties for owners and investors. So that's our specialty. We pride ourselves in making sure our owners get the best performing type of assets, as well as making sure that tenants pay on time and take care of the property. So that's our specialty, investment properties here in Las Vegas.
All right. So now, when you say investment properties, what do you mean? I mean, are you talking apartment buildings? Are you talking homes? Is it all of the above? I don't know what other kinds of investment properties there might be. I guess maybe vacation rentals might be an investment property,
Absolutely.
right? Those kinds of things. So
we manage all of those things. We manage short-term rentals. We manage commercial property, retail, industrial warehouse. We also manage multifamily and single family. So we manage everything in terms of and relative to real estate. It just happens to be, however, that during changing market conditions, some properties have better returns than others. And so the market cycles in every category, and they don't always have the same phase, by the way. So typically at any point in time, when investors call us, they'll say, well, what's the best thing to buy at the moment?
So that brings up a really good question then, because if I think about managing investment properties, it's like, okay, well, great. I need somebody to be able to go fix the toilets and the appliances and all of those kinds of things when those properties have issues, because I don't want to do all of that stuff if I'm an owner, right?
Right.
But your business goes way deeper than that, right? I mean, you guys you do a lot of other things, such as advising people as to how to structure their business deals, and in terms of one of your things, I think, is why is it important to put a property in a trust versus not having it in a trust or anything like that, right? So you guys go way deeper than I'd say maybe a typical property management. Is that fair to say?
So exactly. So not only do we help investors identify what to purchase, but then after they purchase, some properties are completely abandoned. So we'll take it all the way up to the point where we can get a tenant. And during the whole period in which we manage a property, we're also giving our investors advice on how to best protect their property. And so there are different entities or there are different entities that you can put real estate into. One is a trust, and an alternative is an LLC. And we tell everybody, regardless, even if you only own a home and you don't have any of the rental properties, the minimum effort that anyone should take is to put their property into a trust. There's two benefits of putting a property into a trust. The number one benefit is it is more difficult for someone to sue you. And the second benefit of a trust is when you check out, you're going to eventually move that asset to somebody else, right? It's going to be a family member or your favorite cat or whatever. By having a trust, there's a seamless process in which that asset is transferred to whoever you designate. So those are the two primary benefits of a trust, and that should be everybody's minimum investment, including yours.
Mm-hmm. So that's another question, I think, because a lot of people will look at LLCs and say, well, why wouldn't I just put it in an LLC? So what's the big primary differences, I guess, or why do a trust versus just putting it in an LLC?
Right. So an LLC performs similar to a trust. However, if you pass away and the LLC is not inside of a trust, there is no mechanism for that LLC to be transferred to somebody else. So a typical structure is where you have an LLC, or the trust owns the LLC. So it's not uncommon for people with high net worth to have multiple LLCs. They'll have an LLC for their business or multiple businesses, and they'll have an LLC or a bunch of LLCs that each are related to their investments or their properties. So the trust is in the center of the castle, and each little tower is an LLC, and each LLC belongs to the trust. So at the end of the day, when the person passes away, that trust, the assets that belong to that trust seamlessly get transferred to the new person, and the LLCs can remain in place.
So that's so there's one of the secrets of the rich, right? Of
Yep.
how they shelter that money and keep it separated. But that's also that is a great strategy, I guess, of one, it being in the trust, but as in separate LLCs means that it's harder to then, if somebody does sue you, it's harder for them to attach to these multiple properties and whatnot.
That is correct. They are independent. So
Right.
even if someone attacks you and we're lucky and to get a judgment against an LLC, all the other remaining LLCs are not subject to attack.
Yeah, very good. All right. So what's the most effective structure then for a business or a property owner in building their assets?
Well, so the size of the castle, so to speak, is really a function of how many assets that you have. So a typical, the majority of my owners are folks like yourself. They have their primary home and they have like maybe 2 rental properties, as an example, or 2 rental properties in a business. And so the 2 rental properties might belong to one LLC, and their business belongs to a separate LLC, and those two LLCs are owned by the trust. So that's a typical structure of the majority of my clients.
All right. That sounds complicated.
Well, I mean, I'm around it all day long, so it's not complicated to me.
Right.
So, my investors, they're not in this business. And so it's my job to educate them and say, okay, this is what you need to do. Here's my preferred vendor that will set that up for you. Just do what they say and they'll set it up for you. And, creating an LLC is, it's just another vendor. You call them up and say, hey, I need you to set up my LLC. $500 later, poof, you have an LLC. And then you just you get the account recorder to transfer that in. You have a title company transfers that that property into that LLC, and then you have your trust document that's not public record. That those trust documents are held by your attorney and your closest family. And so when you pass away, they know where those trust documents are. In fact, the best thing to do is give it to them in advance. And so when you do pass away, they go, oh, here's everything, and they're ready to go. They can contact an attorney that set up the trust and just seamlessly move all that stuff. The downside of not doing that is brutal. In fact, if you go driving down the street in Las Vegas today, probably 1 out of 20 properties that you see all boarded up and about to fall in itself are properties that weren't properly set up or structured. The owner is either incapable of making a decision, or there's no clear ownership of that property. And so nothing can be done with it. So when nothing can be done with the property, bad things happen. It can't be maintained, can't be repaired. Tweakers move in, they burn it to the ground, the city bulldozes it, and there goes that asset.
Wow. Okay.
And by the way, we've seen it happen to our investors. We've been doing this. I mean, I've been managing properties for close to 30 years. And so I've seen it happen. I've seen a house go all the way from tenant occupied to vacant, to abandoned, to boarded up, to tweakers moving in, to burnt down, to the bulldozer taking it off the foundation. I've seen it all the way through.
Wow.
And it's sad, and they worked really hard to get that asset, and they pissed it away because they kept putting it off.
So my comment of that seems complicated is that's probably what a lot of people are going to think, but that's why they would hire you.
That's right. People hire me because this is all I do. I help people protect assets and get the most out of their assets.
Okay. Very good. This is awesome. This is great information. Now we're about to end our interview here, but any last words? Is there anything else that you'd like to share with people watching? We have your information scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So that's how they can reach out and get in touch with you. But any last words?
Yeah, my last words are, regardless of your financial situation, everyone who owns property should immediately get that ball rolling and having their personal property put into a trust. You don't need me to do that. You don't need a property manager to do that, but I'll be happy to refer you to a vendor who does. It's not that complicated. It does take a long time. And an average trust for the average homeowner is like $2,000, maybe $2,500, depending on how complex your life is. But once you've done it, you're set. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Everybody should do this. Everyone.
Wow, good information. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you for being here. I'm looking forward to the rest of the presentation that we'll hear from you later on today. And so just hang on a minute, and we're gonna end the show here. So once again, don't forget, you can see the web address at the top of the page, networklasvegas.com. You'll see the information for our local, for our monthly event that's going to happen, as well as you'll be able to register for either of the virtual events that we do on the 1st and the 3rd, or the hybrid event on the 1st first Wednesday of the month. So we look forward to seeing you. Hopefully you'll come out and join us sometime. See if Network Las Vegas makes sense for you. But we'll see you next time. Thank you.